We've been doing this podcast for how many episodes now, Zach?
At least 5 years.
It feels like it. It feels like it.
This is our 19th episode today, guys.
Man, I've been pretty proud of a lot of the episodes we've done, but you know what my least favorite kind of podcast is?
No, what?
Coming up with lists. What are we doing today?
I'm glad we never do it. I'm glad.
I'm glad we haven't done that for half our episodes. Today we are sharing our favorite horror movies of 2019. It is that time.
I'm out. Well, I was told this was going to be the 1992 episode.
93.
It's 93. Why don't I watch all those 1992 movies? Fuck.
Casey is referring to our Year in Horror series, which we have an episode on 1993 that'll be coming out in the next couple months.
2021.
2021. Yes. Stay tuned.
Look for it.
Today, we are talking about some of the best horror movies of 2019. We're going to share our picks, and we're going to share we each picked 5 horror movies, and we have some honorable mentions as well. So we're going to go back and forth sharing our favorite horror movies from 2019. This was difficult for me to decide. How about you guys?
Not as difficult as I thought.
Mine was fairly easy in that I don't feel like I saw a lot of horror movies this year because I've been super busy, and I tend to watch older movies when I'm in my free time than current stuff. It's just what I enjoy more. So coming up with a list was a little difficult, but I think that as a result, some of my answers are pretty outside of the box. So hopefully they could help our listeners kind of find something new to watch, because some of them are pretty easily available right now, which we'll talk about.
I thought it was going to be difficult until I Googled basically horror movies of 2019 to see what actually, and then was kind of surprised at what actually constitutes as a horror movie. So I was like, oh, okay, I guess I can put that in there then.
and I'm kind of like, don't trust Amazon because it says everything came out in 2019. And I watched a bunch of movies in prep, and then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll mention, no, this came out in 2017. Oops. And then Zach made me watch fucking Haunt. Thanks, Zach.
I don't even know what that is. I haven't heard of that.
Haunt, I recommended it. I gave it a decent recommendation on Don't Cross the Streams.
Oh, yeah.
Last episode? Or 2 episodes ago.
It wasn't a bad movie. It's just a less interesting version of my friend Byron's movie, and I'm kind of tired of seeing those.
Welcome to another miserable podcast, everybody. If you're just tuning in for the very first time, thanks. I hope you had a really happy new year. Happy 2020. Happy 2020, fellas.
Yeah, happy 2020.
I've already heard enough roaring 20 jokes for the next decade, so.
It's just good.
I feel like I was hearing those before it happened, and then afterwards everyone started making the Barbara Walters jokes, and I much prefer those.
Yeah.
I'm going around saying, yeah, this is 2020.
I very strongly dislike The Great Gatsby, so I'd rather not have the roaring 20s jokes.
So if you're just tuning in for the first time, thank you. We are a horror podcast. We explore kind of the intersection of horror and pop culture.
Enunciate. We are not a horror podcast, Zach.
We are a horror podcast. That's what I said.
Okay, just making sure. For the new listeners, I don't want them to get confused and think that we're a podcast about prostitution, except for that one episode that Zach won't put up. Continue, please.
Before we never talk about that.
I know. He can always edit this out. Leave it in, Zach.
That was an unspoken agreement, Casey. Unspoken. Do you know what unspoken means?
That was a band in the early 2000s. They were kind of screamo, I think.
Sounds accurate.
Okay, guys. So as we said just a minute ago, we're going to share our top 5 horror movies of 2019 today. And Kris was kind of touching on the fact that what do we constitute as a horror movie? So pretty much the only criteria for our lists here, it has to have been released in 2019. Pretty simple. And as long as it is at least somewhat part of the horror genre, it counts. So let me clarify. Godzilla King of the Monsters. It's a monster movie. It counts. Parasite, which I
Ooh.
reviewed on here, that does not count because it's not a horror movie.
Yeah.
It is a documentary about horror movies. It counts.
Documentaries about horror movies or horror genre count. So that's pretty much
Okay.
to give you guys a little idea of where we're heading here. No TV shows or miniseries really. This is movies, documentaries.
Oh, and I have a book recommendation too, but we
You
can get to
almost
that when
ruined
we're
me.
done.
Almost ruined you. This is going to be a fun list. So we're going to go back and forth sharing our lists. And then in the second half of the episode, we're going to touch 2020. And I guess we should do our introductions for new time listeners since it is 2020. This is our first episode of 2020. So if you haven't tuned in before, hi, my name is Zach. I'm joined by my two partners in horrific crime here. Chris Pistol, Professor Casey. How's it going, fellas?
I'm not a
Hi!
criminal. I'm not a crook.
I just watched like 11 hours of wrestling like today, so my brain's a little mushy.
That would that doesn't sound good.
It's a good show though. We're talking about Wrestle Kingdom. Zach watched most of it too. He didn't watch the main event. Oh, he doesn't know what to expect, you guys. If you're listening and you watch Wrestle Kingdom, you know what I'm talking about.
Okay, and on that note, let's get into the nitty-gritty here, fellas. The best horror movies of 2019. Who wants to start things off?
I got it.
Go for it, sir.
So in making my list, I was fairly sure I was going to put something in that ended up not making the list.
Did you have any
Got it.
honorable mentions? Did you want to?
Yes, I'm leading into my honorable mentions. So, so this almost made my list, but did not, and it's a good thing it didn't because, as Zach says, we cannot include TV shows. But I'm actually like rewatching Chernobyl right now, and I definitely thought about putting it on my list because it is very, very horrific.
Way better than the Chernobyl Diaries, that's for sure.
Absolutely, yes. I never
Yeah.
saw that, but
Dog shit completely. I saw it in the theater. Ugh.
Did they shoot that movie at Chernobyl, like the real Chernobyl?
No,
Okay.
no, and it's funny because I watched all this actual footage of Chernobyl on Vice, like right before I went and saw the movie, and I'm like, this is not even near accurate.
Yeah, that Vice documentary was probably scarier.
Mm-hmm.
No, but this is an HBO miniseries. I think it's only 5 episodes, and it's definitely my favorite piece of television from the past year. And it's like not really structured like a horror movie, but it is genuinely terrifying and horrific at parts. To just see, because there's nothing scarier than ignorance. There's nothing scarier than Soviet Russia ignorance. So definitely almost put that on my list. But I actually found more movies than I thought I would. So that's just an honorable mention. Check out Chernobyl.
Sweet.
Okay, so my number 5 is a movie I almost forgot about this year. It didn't quite make my top 25 of the year, but it is Crawl, the fantastic killer alligator movie that not a lot of people saw.
Fun movie. Saw it in the theater.
That is my number 5 as well, Chris.
It's not in my top 5, but it's because some other. I think that if I had an honorable mention, that would be mine. But
Okay.
yeah, it's a fucking great movie.
Yeah, I agreed. I think it's not like for what it purports to be. It's not something I can really critique because I think it does exactly what it sets out to do, and it's very effective. It's way more intense than I thought it would be. Like just when you think they're like this father and daughter have escaped, another gator comes in or something else hits the fan, and then the hurricane gets worse. It's very effective. I just watched it the other day. It was one of the movies that I hadn't got around to see in theaters. I was I very much enjoyed it. So
yeah, so and it's not one of those movies where you think like, oh, you're frustrated with the characters of why are they making these decisions. You absolutely understand like why the characters are doing the things they're doing. Like that core relationship between the girl and her father is really grounds the movie. And yeah, it's one of those movies where just like a bad situation just keeps snowballing until it's just one terrible, awful one thing after another, and yeah, it kept me on the edge of my seat. It's definitely very effective. So this is from the director of The Hills Have Eyes from like 2006.
Yeah, Alexandre Aja. Also
Yeah.
directed High Tension.
Which I've never seen.
Oh, you got to see High Tension.
It made a lot of waves when it came out. It's
Yeah.
definitely it's definitely got like a cult following.
Okay.
Oh, count me in as part of that cult. It's a fun movie.
I would
And
say,
horrors, which I
and
enjoy.
I think he did Piranha 3D.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Mhm.
Another great creature movie, actually.
I think Crawl is Alexander Aja's best work to date, from what I've seen of his.
Look, man, if fish aren't eating Jerry O'Connell's dick, it's not his number one.
But yeah, terrific performances by Kaya Scodelario and Barry Pepper. You really bought into their father-daughter relationship, and just a thrill ride of a movie. I love these kind of flicks that just don't let up, and this was a really nice, perfect kind of summer release. Really enjoyed it.
I gotta say, for my people out there, you know who you are. The movie does not skimp on people getting wrecked by fucking gators.
No, it doesn't.
Don't worry.
It does not.
No.
There's some nasty gators.
And there was much rejoicing.
All right, Casey, you're number 5, sir.
Okay, so my top 5 is gonna be a little weird. I didn't see a whole lot of movies, but this is one I saw in the theater, and it is Annabelle Comes Home. This is the hardest one for me to decide is what my number 5 would be, because my number 4, my 4 other ones, I should say, were very locked in at this point. I just thought this movie was fun as fuck, and we did a whole episode on it. I urge you to go back into our archives and listen to it so you can hear me gush about this movie way more than I probably should. But I had a good time with it. Shitty CGI werewolves aside, pretty good movie, a lot of fun. So in putting this on the list, it beat out Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is essentially the same movie. So there we go. I loved both. Beat out Godzilla King of the Monsters in my eyes too. I was struggling for a lot of things to put in number 5. So this was my number 5 just because I had such a fucking good time watching it.
So
And
if I've
Bob's
seen
got
Scary
balls.
Stories to Tell in the Dark, I don't need to see Annabelle.
Pretty much. It's the
It's the
same.
same
It's
movie?
the same movie. It's the same movie.
I don't agree with that. I think they're both worthy.
I mean, really, Goosebumps and Are You Afraid of the Dark? And I'm sorry, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark are way more literally the same movie. But it's pretty close. I mean, but really, when you look at it, Jaws and Alien are the same movie. It doesn't make any of the other ones less great.
I did enjoy Annabelle Comes Home, and it did give us the Bob's Got Balls meme.
Bob's got balls.
Yeah. So, all right, Chris, you're number 4, man.
I have to see this movie so I can share in on the memes. But I just hated the first 2 Annabelle so much that I just.
Well, see, I hated the first one.
Away.
I absolutely hated the first one. The second one, I felt like it was starting to get to more where it should be, and this one was just a weird creature feature that happened to have Annabelle in it, and is just a mishmash of a battle royale of different weird ass monsters in it, and they all felt like they were backdoor pilots for their own movies, and I found that so entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, you're number 4, man.
Okay, so my number 4 is the brightest and sunshiniest horror movie that came out this year. It's Ari Aster's follow-up from Hereditary this year. It's Midsommar? Midsommar? I heard someone on a podcast pronouncing it like Midsommar, and I was like, I hate that. I don't know if that's right.
That's when I unsubscribe from podcasts.
I would rather call it either Midsommar or Midsummer, but not Midsommar. That's just wrong.
That's how I've been pronouncing it, but
I just said
I don't know why.
Midsommar this whole
It's like-
time.
I don't know why. It's just like sand on a chalkboard. I don't like it.
But what are your thoughts on Midsommar, Chris?
So I my first reaction to Midsommar was like, I admire this probably more than I really enjoy it. Like, it's extremely well made. Ari Aster's, one of our like best new voices in horror, I feel like. But you're always comparing like one film to another, especially when it's like number 2. And I definitely liked Hereditary a lot more. And I just feel like if Midsommar was like 30 minutes shorter, I would have like liked it a whole lot more. But as it is, I think it's got some like great sequences, some great performances, a genuinely unsettling tone throughout the entire thing. So I can see why I didn't love it as much as like a lot of people did, but I always loved when people brought it up. And I heard people like bring this up a lot. Like I heard people that don't even really like watch horror movies or go see a lot of movies would talk about this and be like, oh, I just saw Midsommar, or oh yeah, I saw that, it was crazy. So I always enjoyed when people would bring it up.
Very popular Halloween costume this year.
What, the guy and the bear, or
No,
the girl?
no, just the main girl. Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
just Miss Poots.
yeah, Poots.
Great last name.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like what the movie did most effectively is it made a 70s.
The girl from Midsommar is Florence Pugh, not Poots. That's
It's Pugh.
Oh, yeah.
I got my fucked up last name.
Imogen Poots is from Black Christmas, sir.
Yeah, the other movie.
And Green Room.
And Green Room, which was awesome, but not this year. Shit. Because I was just thinking, Green Room was really good. That should be on my list, but that was a 2018 movie. No, but one thing I thought Midsommar did well is that it basically made a 70s cannibal movie without like being insensitive for other cultures, because they just made it like white people that are weird. So it was interesting because like if you watch it and if you watch like Green Inferno, it's the same movie pretty much, but the execution is very, very different.
Yeah.
So that would be a very interesting double feature back to back. I challenge our listeners to do so.
I've not seen Green Inferno, so.
I mean, it's basically Cannibal Holocaust, but like a remake, but not really.
Eli Roth.
Yeah.
So that make any of your lists?
It's an honorable mention on my list.
Ooh.
It was a tough cut because it was really well made and I really did enjoy it. But as I was making my list, I kind of, because there were so many films that came out this year that I just felt the same about, and I enjoyed, somewhat liked. At the end of the day, I was like, well, what do I want to revisit? What am I kind of keen to watch again? And Midsommar wasn't one of the ones I was keen to watch again, ultimately, compared to my number 4.
Yeah, that's why it's not my number 4.
Yeah,
it's not in my top 3, but.
So Midsommar was one of my honorable mentions. I'll reveal the other ones slowly throughout this process. But my number 4 is a movie that I am keen to revisit and watch again, and that is Us by Mr. Jordan Peele.
Ooh, nice.
I had mixed feelings coming out of Us because I enjoyed it. I think the score is one of the best like horror scores that's come out in recent years in a while. It's really just unsettling and really sets such a great tone. And there's some great performances. Lupita Nyong'o is tremendous. I love a good, Invasion of the Body Snatchers type story. And I think it delivered on that. It's just something I want to see again. I feel like there's a lot more to unpack with this movie. There's lots of subtext and, that obviously you can dig out and sift through. And I feel like there's more of a world to kind of explore with this film.
Yeah.
And it has a really great atmosphere. I think there was more that could have been done in certain aspects that I felt like it was lacking. I felt like there could have been, the kind of some explanations that were given about this, the tethered that live beneath, us normal people. Like it was kind of half baked, I felt, but like I still really felt like for the most part, Jordan Peele accomplished what he wanted to with this film. Obviously kind of a good, similar to Society. I'm just going to keep bringing up Society. Let's keep it going in 2020. And actually my dad was saying, he brought a good parallel that kind of similar to Parasite. They both have this sort of poor versus, upper class, lower class kind of dichotomy and sort of a lot, statements on just kind of the vast differences between the two. And, that's kind of a lot what Us was about as well. So
I've got a comparison for you, Zach. How about The Purge? In that it feels like the first movie that isn't executing the idea as far as it should go, which The Purge ended up having sequels to do so, but I don't think he wants to do another Us, unfortunately, because that would be cool, kind of.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there's more to explore here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's cool to leave it up to us or whatever, but it'd be nice to see more.
Yeah, again, a really great film to look at. Amazing score, some tremendous performances. It's just I really want to watch it again, and I think
Same.
that's a testament to the quality of film it was compared to a lot of other things that came out in 2019, which I enjoyed, but I don't necessarily go, oh, I need to watch that again. This one I want to watch again. So my number 4.
It's just too bad because it gets compared to Get Out, and I don't think I've seen one person that liked it more than Get Out.
I wouldn't say I liked it more than Get Out, but that my first impression. But I do want to watch it again.
Yeah,
I liked it more than Get Out, but I did think it was scarier than Get Out.
Oh yeah, it definitely felt like more of a horror movie than a political statement, even though it definitely has political statements involved and subtext and everything, which I don't even know if you would call it subtext. It's pretty in your face.
It's just text.
Yeah, it's text.
All right, Casey, you're number 4, man.
Okay, so I went a little bit outside the box on this because it was actually something that I found quite interesting, and I feel like it ties into my number 5 choice a little bit because I thought that Annabelle Comes Home felt like the movie Spookies was trying to be, but we never saw the movie Spookies was trying to be because it was never released. So basically, if you buy the Blu-ray of Spookies from Vinegar Syndrome, there is a feature-length documentary included called Twisted Tale, The Unmaking of Spookies, which is a feature-length making of documentary. It is also a feature-length making of documentary that has its own commentary track with even more tidbits in there, which is fucking awesome. I love when movies do that. Look, this is more information that you'll ever want on the Spookies film, but it will tell you exactly how things went down. And one movie was made, the team was basically fired and replaced, and a second movie was pieced together using their footage. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I recommend it to everyone. It's a shame it's not available on its own streaming or something because I feel like more people should see it. The only thing that I'm a little critical of is that I feel like it was a little bit unbalanced. There is a great article that's an oral history on the making of Spookies that is a little more balanced, but the guy that wrote that article is in this documentary helping out with the documentary. So you're getting some of his tidbits as well. It's really great. If you want to see like all the things that can go wrong in a film, despite having a very passionate cast and crew that had a very clear vision and then having that vision butchered before their eyes and not knowing until they went to see the movie, it's pretty fun to see how these guys reacted to that situation. I think they reacted pretty much the same way all of us would, but yeah, quite interesting.
So number 4 for you was the Spookies documentary on the Blu-ray that was just released.
Unmaking of Spookies.
Awesome.
It's really good. Vinegar Syndrome home run.
And there was much rejoicing.
Sweet. Chris, you're number 3. We're in the top 3 horror movies of 2019, guys. This is where it gets serious.
Well, I kept my composure when Zach was talking, but my number 3 is also Us.
Okay.
From Jordan Peele. I don't have much to add on what you said, Zach, other than I guess I liked it a little bit more than you because I put it at number 3.
Oh, that's fair.
But I did find it.
I kind of forgot it came out this year.
Well, it did come out way back in February? So
yeah, it was
a year
at the
ago?
very beginning of the year, yeah.
Yeah, so Lupita Nyong'o is probably going to get ignored come Oscar time, but she'll be this year's Toni Collette.
As great as her performance was, I don't think it was quite the level of Toni Collette's performance in Hereditary, which really should have won an Oscar, to be honest. But
oh yeah,
that was absolutely incredible.
I don't know. The more I see Toni Collette in, I wonder if she's just like that.
She has so much range, man. She is one of the best actresses out there today.
She's very different in Knives Out.
She is every film she's in. She's so different. It's really impressive. Anyway, that was a little Toni Collette tangent there.
That was my number 3, Toni Collette.
Yeah.
Zach, you're next.
My number 3. This is a curveball for you guys because I don't think either of you have seen this movie. My number 3 is a little film called Brightburn.
Oh yeah, I've
Oh,
seen it. It
yeah.
was dog shit. No, I'm just kidding. I haven't seen it. Yeah.
So Brightburn is directed by David Yarovetsky, who is a friend of the Gunns, James Gunn, Brian, and Mark Gunn, who wrote this movie, not James Gunn. James Gunn produced it. It is a horrific
But
take.
his name was all over the poster.
Yes, it was. It is
Yeah.
kind of a horror take on the Superman origin story. And I just really enjoyed the heck out of this movie. It's just got this very kind of, it's a slow burn, but not too slow. You just kind of know that they discover this kid who, like, a meteor crashes down. You kind of see it in like kind of flashbacks, glimpses. And this couple, Elizabeth Banks and David Denman, and they end up raising this boy. And as he's reaching about like 12 years old, he just starts having issues at school, and they know something's wrong with him because he fucking crashed out from outer space, but they haven't told him this. He doesn't know this. And slowly but surely he starts exhibiting these weird powers, and it just takes a very dark turn. And it's just, there's some gnarly special effects in here, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you're just wondering, how is this family going to like resolve this and get out of this? And it's just, I really don't want to say much because it's really just worth watching. And there's really a whole kind of mythology behind this that clearly the Gunn brothers have. They have plenty of like sequels and stuff in mind. They kind of try and tie in other properties that they've worked on. There's a lot of stuff kind of in the end credits that I'm not going to spoil or anything, but it's really cool. They kind of try to tie it into like this whole like kind of superhero universe in a way. And it's just really interesting with this whole, the MCU and everything. And it's where you live in such a comic book powered world now, to see kind of really like a horror take on the genre. And it was really refreshing, and I just really enjoyed it. I really highly recommend it. It's some great performances. The main kid, Jackson A. Dunn, who plays Brandon Breyer, the kid at the beginning, the kid who has the powers, is really great horror performance, really unsettling. Highly recommended. If you have not seen it, I think it went overlooked by a lot of people this year, so that's why it's really high on my list.
I was in theaters for like 5 minutes is the problem, and it was a very limited release on top of it.
It is,
Yeah.
but this one, looking back at my list, I was like, yeah, I really enjoyed that, and it really stuck with me, and I'd like to watch it again. It's a good one. If you guys missed that one, which I think most people did, definitely find it on streaming. I'm sure it's available. It's a good one.
Yeah, I really do need to check that one out. Love a good horror / comics combination. Yeah, so we're at our number 3 already.
Scarier
Really?
than Men of Steel, Zach?
In a way, yeah.
In which Superman also murders thousands of people?
Yeah. Well, you don't want to search for this documentary. You get to see Tom Savini looking naked. Okay, so
Another documentary, Casey. You're so sophisticated.
yes, my number 3 is the Shudder documentary Smoke and Mirrors, the story of Tom Savini. I absolutely loved this. There's some audio issues, and I tend to watch things with headphones, and those bothered me, so I just want to get that out there for anyone else that does, but it's still worth watching. Power through it.
In the documentary?
Yes,
Okay.
it's on Shudder. I loved it because, I grew up reading Fangoria. I grew up reading about Tom Savini. I have an autographed picture of Tom Savini fucking doing the Jason makeup. I'm a big fan of his work. And this movie told me a lot of stuff that I haven't heard before. There's a lot about Tom's personal life that's interesting as fuck and really doesn't tie in with the horror stuff at all. But it really shows you what this guy's been through and what a virtuoso he is talent-wise. It's pretty eye-opening to see all of the other talents that he has, even though you've heard of them before. You know he's done stunt work, you know he's done acting, but you don't know the extent to which he's done both things. And this documentary, very, very good at focusing on things that we might not already know about Tom. The issue is, though, in doing that, I feel like it's taking a little bit away from the effects makeup stuff. I wish there was more of it. If there was, this would be much higher on my list because I did find what I saw fascinating. I just think that the meat might have been in the wrong place a little bit. But I still do recommend it. It is number 3 on my list. It is available on Shudder right now. And I can't recommend it enough. If you're into 80s horror and you're a gore hound like me, you will love it. If you don't, it's still pretty interesting to at least see someone that you've you at least know is the dick gun guy from Dusk Till Dawn, if anything.
The dick gun guy, you know?
Definitely where I
Love
first saw
Machine.
him, yeah.
Oh no, Sex Machine. Sex Machine.
Yeah, if that's on your resume, man, no matter what else you do, you're set. But he's, you know, absolute legend, one of the best, you know, horror makeup artists, you know, of all time. So,
hey, we got Friday the 13th. Fucking great. Friday the 13th Part 4. Tremendous. Some of the best makeup work I've ever seen. We have the fucking Burning. Hello. Tremendous fucking movie.
this is all
that
stuff
no
Tom
one talks
Savini's
about.
worked on, for those that are unclear.
Yes. And we have The Prowler, which has the best head explosion I've ever seen in my life. Yes, I know about scanners, okay? Yes, I know this is blasphemy saying it's not scanners, but it's fucking better than scanners.
Okay.
Watch it. The Prowler.
Chris, number 2, sir.
Ooh, we're already at number 2. Okay,
are.
sweet. So number 2, I wrestled with this because I don't necessarily think this movie is better than maybe some of the other ones on this list, but it was like the most fun I had in a horror movie this year.
That
and
counts.
that was, yeah, and that
That's how I
definitely
pick my
counts for
list.
something. But then that's Ready or Not.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
guys,
That is
guys,
is
have
my
you
number
seen
2
Ready
as
or
well.
Not? Have you seen Ready or Not? It's so much fun.
Yeah. That is my number 2 as well, Chris. 100%. Loved it.
Somebody was bringing up sort of the comparisons between this and You're Next, which came a few years ago, and I think I like this more than You're Next.
I honestly
I like it way more.
I think it shits all over Your Next, to be honest. Like I enjoyed
Yeah,
Your
same.
Next, but like it's not something I'm really keen to revisit. Ready or Not, absolutely. And that's on my list as well, so I'll touch on that when I get to it.
You're Next. I thought everyone was too unlikable, and at least this one we had one likable person, and the people that were unlikable were likable in their unlikableness. Where in
Yeah.
You're Next, I just
You
thought they
still
were
wanted to
straight
see
up
them.
unlikable. Yeah. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. It was it was the most fun horror movie I saw in theaters, and I was actually wrestling with making this my number 1 or not, but my number 1 made me feel certain things that I need to talk to the audience about.
Okay.
Things deep in his soul.
All right. I have no idea what your number 1 is, Casey. Anything else you want to touch on with Ready or Not, Chris? I know Casey and I will probably talk about it in a bit, but
Yeah, I'll just say that this is like one of my favorite. First time I've seen this person in a movie. The lead woman in this film,
Samara Weaving.
So yeah, she's just so fantastic.
Oh, you got to see The Babysitter, dude. It's dope.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen The Babysitter, but yeah,
so
she's so
good.
fantastic. She really carries this movie. She just needs to be in everything now. And the last 5 minutes of this movie are just some of the best.
And she is not Margot Robbie. She is not Margot Robbie. Stop.
Oh no, Ugh, who says that?
Dumb people. Zach, is it The Sitter or The Babysitter? I can't fucking remember. You saw it too, right?
The Sitter is Adventures in Babysitting ripoff with Jonah Hill that came out a few years back. Casey, no, it's The Babysitter.
Okay, yeah, it's not The Sitter then. So it's The Babysitter. Okay, good.
Watch
good.
The Sitter.
It's not The Babysitter's Club, the series of young teen girl books.
I think there's a Lifetime movies too that are. Anyway, my number 2, and this was almost my number 1.
No. Say it's so gross. My number 2. Oh, I had to. No one else is going. I had to.
You had to. 2. Okay, my number 2. Almost my number 1, but it is my number 2, and that is One Cut of the Dead. Shudder released. If you have not seen this yet, guys, it is so tremendous. It's one of those movies. It's one of those movies again that the less you know about it, the better. But it's really.
I'm honestly not. I just haven't seen it to spite Zach at this point. Honestly,
it's just a tremendous. It's a zombie movie, yes, but it's a tremendous celebration of filmmaking and making horror movies as well, and that's why it's so great. It was really an underdog movie. I think it was made on a super small budget. It's out of Japan, and the fact that it's come over here and been such a success is so great to see. And I really just the more people that see it, the better. It's just you had to watch it. I don't want to spoil anything.
Where do they watch this, Zach?
This is on Shudder, exclusively available on Shudder. Directed by Shinichiro Ueda. I probably butchered that.
No, actually, that's pretty good. The last name's right, at least.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm getting better, you know?
All that New Japan's been helping you out.
Yeah, so One Cut of the Dead.
Yeah, I've heard about this movie a lot this year. It's been just on my list to see for forever, and I just kept forgetting about it. But a lot of people are talking about this, so it's getting a lot.
Very
of
nearly
word of
my
mouth.
number one horror movie of the year. I've
heard about it a lot from Zach, and I'm actually like, if you would have bet me $5 on what his number one movie was going to be, I totally would have thought it would have been this movie.
The reason it wasn't my number one horror movie is that I just don't know if I could say it's the best horror movie, and that's as much as I want to say because you need to watch it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Cool.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh. Now that the whole movie's ruined for me, Zach. No, I'm just kidding. That means it's my turn. For people want to hear me talk about my number twos now.
Yes,
You already mentioned your number.
you already
two.
mentioned it, but why do you?
Anything else you want to say about Ready or Not?
At first, I was very disappointed it wasn't based on the Showtime series. That's a Canadian teen melodrama. So, had a girl named Busy in it. I always thought that was like a fucked up name.
That's all he wants to say.
That's all I want to say. Everything else has been said.
This is why we keep you, Casey.
Also, see The Babysitter. It's dope. It was on Netflix. I don't know if it still is. That's how I saw it.
It's my number two. I was disappointed initially because it wasn't based off this Canadian teen series.
Well, Chris already said all the good shit about this movie. It was fun. It was fun as fuck, and the ending's hilarious. Tremendous. Like, I can't say enough about it without spoiling the parts that are awesome is the problem.
Fair enough.
See it without spoilers as much as you possibly can.
Yes, for sure. All right, we're on our number ones, guys. Our number ones.
Woo!
Chris, your number one horror movie of 2019.
Okay, so my number one horror movie of 2019, I almost forgot about because I wasn't sure exactly if it qualified, but I jumped out of my seat at least one time during this movie, so I'm counting it. It is The Lighthouse.
Oh, The Lighthouse.
Shit, I've not seen that yet. God damn it.
I'm not surprised this is your top choice, Chris.
I remembered you saying you liked it. I just haven't seen it. Fuck.
Oh man, it's just fantastic. So I got to listen to a podcast between the director Robert Eggers and Ari Aster, who directed Midsommar, and they both had their voices were so similar. Like, I'm not 100% convinced they're not the same person. But they mostly talked about just like the inspiration behind their movies, and interestingly enough, like Ingmar, he sources Ingmar Bergman as being like a big like influence on this movie, but I would also like say it's there's a lot of Eraserhead in this. There's a lot of like F.W. Murnau, like silent cinema. Like, it's just a beautiful movie to look at. I mean, it's it's shot in that 4:3 aspect ratio. It's shot on like really like old cameras.
4:3, really?
Yeah, and it's in black and white, and it's just like it's really like a cinema lover's like dream looking movie. Just like if you're someone who like loves old horror movies, this is just like a dream come true for you. It's really weird.
It gave me like old Dark House vibes. If you guys know that movie.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I love the old Dark House. It's really weird. Both Robert Pattinson and Willem Dafoe are just really great in it. It's
Batman and the Green Goblin. There we go.
Exactly. Yeah, it's also really funny at times. Willem Dafoe has some really great moments. There's this really great like kind of cursed speech he has that he gives to Robert Pattinson's character, and there's some really weird, scary stuff with a mermaid.
I've seen some gifs of Willem Dafoe, like something about lobster. Am I thinking?
Yeah, so he basically Robert Pattinson really offends him when he tells him how terrible his cooking is, and Willem Dafoe's just like, "Would you like me lobster, right?" And he's just like, "Just tell the man you like his lobster." They have this huge argument that kind of escalates, but it's also got some like DNA of The Shining in there, because it's basically these two trapped, isolated on this island, on this rock in this lighthouse, and you don't know how long. Time just starts to blur together, and you don't know what's going on. Insanity ensues. It's one of the craziest times I've had at the theater this year. So check out The Lighthouse.
I just love that like Willem Dafoe did The Lighthouse this year, as well as that like Alaska like bobsled dog movie that's on Disney Plus that's supposed to be awful.
Yeah. Really? I heard it. I've actually heard like a couple good things about that.
Oh, really? Someone told me it was awful. I don't know who it was.
Okay.
A friend of mine told me it was awful. I'm not sure, but
Hey, you know which one's awful is the one with Paul Walker where all the dogs fucking die.
hey,
Fuck that movie.
hey,
And
that's
then
not
Paul
that's
Walker
not
died.
that's
Aw.
not Paul Walker's. Well, why is this the second episode in a row where we're talking about Paul Walker's death? That's terrible.
Yeah, you know what? We're gonna be talking about it even more in a minute, Zach.
We're just not over it, man. I wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and I'm like, Paul Walker. Oh, it's not here.
This
It's
is.
getting really close to my speech I have prepared for my number one choice already.
I don't know why this has become so Paul Walker centered, but Paul Walker, you're a great actor and you're missed, man. That is sincere. I
Join
promise.
us next time on the Paul Walker podcast in memorial. R.I.P.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So my number one was Ready or Not.
I had a feeling
Yeah.
because you weren't saying anything about it.
I wasn't.
But he actually means the original Showtime series with Busy on it.
I do.
Oh my gosh.
Casey, I don't know how you figured that out, but good on you.
Oh,
for it.
dude, because I know you're a sucker for like the TV episodes that are about someone getting their period for the first time.
Shit.
Like, yeah, it's a very special episode.
Oh, thanks,
I was
Casey.
not ready.
No, Ready or Not was the
No,
most.
she was wearing white shorts to class. Totally not ready.
Ready or Not was the most fun I had at a horror movie at theaters all year. Samara Weaving is fantastic. Matt Bettinelli, Olfin, and Tyler Gillette, tremendous job directing this. It's just fun. It's one of those movies that doesn't let up the whole, runtime. You don't know exactly what's going to happen. There's enough like surprises and twists and turns to keep you guessing as to, which, kind of the motivations of certain characters. And I think it's just executed perfectly. The ending is absolutely fantastic and one of the most kind of joyous endings to a horror movie I've seen in a while. And another pick on my list, which I won't spoil because that's a spoiler. But honestly, so good. You guys already said enough of it. I can't really add anything else besides if you have not seen it, see it. It's tremendous and deserves all the acclaim it's getting. Good job, Fox Searchlight.
If I had to pick a mood for 2019, the last 5 minutes of Ready or Not would probably be that mood.
Someone tweeted that out. I retweeted that. It's on the MPOS Twitter page. Yeah.
Nice.
That's pretty fucking accurate.
It is. So that was my number one. I'll get into my honorable mentions after Casey reveals his number one pick. You are closing us out, sir. The number one horror movie of 2019. Casey, what is your pick?
All right, I'm so glad because I gotta get something off my chest here. You see, this isn't a movie. This is like some kind of Lovecraftian creature that eats your brain and haunts your dreams.
Oh, dude, I
Somehow
totally know what you're
feeds-
going to pick right now.
There's plenty
feeds
of that in
upon
the Lighthouse.
feelings within your brain because you see, like, okay, like we watch horror movies to be scared, right? Sometimes we watch them to laugh. Depends how fucked up your sense of humor is. We all look at horror movies for a certain feeling and a certain like. We like a little scare. We like to see somebody get wrecked, something like that. But when a movie comes and it makes you doubt your own sanity and your own standards of reality, it kind of crosses a little bit of a line there. And I mean, I gotta recommend it as the number one movie of the year, but it's just like the mental anguish and torment from watching it may be too much for some of you. So
I know where you're going with this. This is hilarious.
While my film was not made in 2019, it was released in 2019 for the first time. Some may say it was unleashed.
Oh my gosh.
It made me actually question the reality, though. Was it really released for the first time in 2019, or is it from an alternate reality, right? And I feel like actually, like you're laughing, but like I'm serious. Like you watch this and you think. This is from an alternate reality. Everything's a little too weird.
You are stretching this build out, man. What did you pick?
Everything is really not right.
I've blacked out for a minute.
I know what your pick is, so just say.
No, I am talking about the gore cut of Tammy and the T-Rex, which I talked about at length in our last episode.
Thanks for joining us on the Tammy and the T-Rex podcast.
But
Paul Walker is in it.
I didn't talk about the lasting effects that it had, you see. I feel a connection to Paul Walker, you see. He died maybe 5 miles from my house. I used to drive by there like all the time. I used to work in the area. But this movie, it's so off that it makes you think maybe some kind of portal opened from another reality where this movie was acceptable and this movie was made. Maybe in that reality, this is Jurassic Park. Okay. I mean, like in terms of popularity, maybe there's a Tammy and the T-Rex ride at that Universal Studios. Would I like to visit? Probably. But who am I in that world? Am I me with this podcast? Am I a famous professional wrestler? Was I eaten by a robot T-Rex? I'll never know. But these are the questions that keep me awake at night ever since I saw this movie.
Casey, did you like take an edible or like some shrooms in between picks here?
Oh, no.
He's on his way to Midsommar.
No.
He is on his way to Midsommar.
This is a very serious situation that arises from anyone that watches this movie. And I dare any of you listening right now that hear the sound of my voice, including my co-host, to watch this movie and not have the same feeling in the pit of your stomach keeping you awake at night. Because this movie shouldn't exist, but it does. So then you start asking yourself, why does it exist? How does it exist? What is existence? Do I exist? Am I someone else's gore cut of a movie just waiting to happen? Am I going to walk down the street and just fucking explode so that somebody can have a PG kids movie, have an R-rated gore cut?
He talks about this movie the way that most people have been talking about Cats this whole year.
This is a better time, from what I understand, than Cats. But I talked about a little bit more nicely and positively in our last episode, if you want to hear that. This is more of a dare, but also somewhat of a warning. Watch this movie, but you may not ever be the same. This may be me trying to get on a future Blu-ray box release of some kind, but there you go. Tammy and the T-Rex, #1 horror movie of 2019, even though it was made in the early 90s.
Casey, that was quite the promo, man. That was like the promo of the year for Tammy and the T-Rex.
It's good. I hope Vinegar Syndrome is listening. I love you.
And there was much rejoicing.
Oh, so that was 2019, guys. Before we close it out, I do want to throw some honorable mentions. If you guys have any, feel free. I had like 5. So first, I think the elephant in the room, It Chapter 2 was not on any of our lists.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I didn't even fucking see it, Zach.
You didn't see it?
No.
Oh, man.
Wow.
You gotta
Dude,
see
I
it.
don't have, look, man, I don't have time for your 3-hour fucking horror movies, okay? I did see Midsommar in the theater, but still, people need to fucking chill with the movies over 2 hours long. I'm looking at you, Marvel, as much as I love you. I'm looking at the horror genre as a whole, fucking Star Wars, everything. Chill with the movies over 2 hours.
Looking at you, Lawrence of Arabia.
Oh, don't even.
Looking at you, The Sound of Music.
Yeah, It Chapter 2, I had a really great time watching this movie. I think it just wasn't what I think most people wanted it to be compared to Chapter 1. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't scary enough, and it was just trying to be so many different things at once. There's some great performances here. It's really a fun time. It just didn't quite make the top 5 for me, just because I don't.
Original,
it was
yeah,
and it was just a decent step down from that. But it really is. If you want to see a big budget horror movie, it's not going to get much bigger than that. So.
Remember when we talked about how people want to fuck that clown on a previous episode? It's like whole Tumblr communities and shit.
It's true.
Oh, I don't know if they want to fuck him in It Chapter 2, but they might want to fuck Bill Skarsgård in Villains, which is one of my other honorable mentions, which I just watched this morning. Fantastic film. Very nearly made my top 5. If you have not seen Villains, premise-wise, it's not super original. It's they play pretty much a young Bonnie and Clyde couple robbing some like liquor stores so they can make a getaway to Florida, and their car breaks down, so they break into this nice house. And the couple there, played by Jeffrey Donovan and Kira Sedgwick, who are tremendous as well. They discover a kid locked up in the basement. So these people are not very good people that they've just broken into their house because they're trying to get some, siphon some gas out of their car. Anyway, so they end up in quite the predicament.
Zach's not spoilering the movie because they put this in the fucking trailer.
The trailer.
Like, why would you put this in the trailer?
Directed by Dan Bark, Robert Olson. Really, really entertaining watch. Skarsgård, Micah Monroe are fantastic. As I said, Kira Sedgwick and Jeffrey Donovan, really just great performances.
Michael Monroe, lead singer of Hanoi Rocks?
No.
No?
Oh, man. No, so if you have not seen Villains, it didn't make my top 5 just because I felt like they could have gone to a couple darker places and just thrown a few more wrenches into things. It's pretty much what you expect from the trailer, and it's really entertaining and great. They just could have done a little bit more with it, but it's a terrific film. Also, want to give a shout out to Doctor Sleep, which again, really fun time. Just didn't quite stick the landing, and some things don't quite work as well as they should. But again, I really did enjoy it. I think I gave that 4 out of 5. So it's a
What was the runtime on this movie?
it's like 2.5 hours. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's long.
That movie felt long too.
Ewan McGregor is great. There's some really good performances in there. It's just trying to be too many different things. And my last honorable mention, and I didn't actually, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is not in here, but that's great as well. So I'll just throw that in briefly. But my last honorable mention that I have listed is a film that came out the same time as Ma, but I liked it a lot more than Ma, and that is Greta. Greta is pretty much like
about Greta
with Chloe Grace Moretz, and I forget the name of the French actress. But I talk about it on another episode, or I talk about it in a blog post I wrote on miserablepilesecrets.com. It's just a really great stalker thriller. It doesn't do anything too crazy, but performances are good, and it's a really good popcorn watch. If you're like at home from work or on the weekend, you just want to rent something. This is a really good rental.
How long is it?
It's like 90 minutes, Casey. It's beautiful.
Okay,
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It moves at a great pace. The French actress, who again I forget her name, so hold on one second.
Isabelle Huppert.
Yes, thank you. She is awesome, and Micah Monroe has a part in this as well, so she's on 2 honorable mentions for me.
Fuck yeah, Hanoi rocks, baby.
So those are my honorable mentions. If you haven't seen Greta, Greta is a great just weekend rental. It's nice and breezy and entertaining. So Greta and Villains for sure, both of them. And that was 2019. Do you guys have any other honorable mentions?
I don't film-wise, but I have something that I really want to recommend to our listeners.
Okay.
That's horror-related. So
make it quick, because we got to get into 2020, sir.
Oh, fuck this, dude. This is like the best. Actually, this came out like right at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. It's called Choke, Gasp, exclamation point. The best of 75 years of EC Comics, featuring the old witch, the Vault Keeper, and our good friend, the Crypt Keeper, baby. Yes, this is a reprint of EC Comics classics.
Oh, very cool.
Beautiful, beautiful color hardcover. Not all of them are horror stories. Some of them are from their true crime and war books. But it's to showcase wonderful artists from EC's history that have done so. But a lot of these are stories that were turned into like really good episodes of Tales from the Crypt, the TV series. So if you ever wanted to see the original comic version of the one where the guy's like fucking the girl with the mask and he tries to take her mask off and it's her face, it's in there. If you ever want to see the fucking comic version of the one where the guy is chained to the cop and then he like cuts the cop's hand off with the badge that he turns into an axe and falls down a cliff and breaks his neck and the buzzards peck his eyeballs out, it's in there. There's no hand chopping, but it's in there. And a couple other ones were direct episodes as well. It has the one with the killer Santa we were talking about actually on the last episode of the podcast. So highly recommend it. Again, it's called Choke, Gasp. It is an expensive book. It's $50, but it is, you guys can see this on our camera now. This is a substantial book.
Well, our listeners cannot see it on your camera, but
no, I was talking to you guys directly. It's about 530 pages of some of the most wonderful comics you will ever read, and I cannot recommend it enough. Absolutely love it. I don't have my horror comics podcast anymore, so this gets to be it.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, so that was 2019. It was an interesting year for the horror genre. I don't think it was as strong as 2018. There was just...
No, 2018 had a lot of good shit.
Yeah, just making this list. Like, my top 2 were pretty locked in. And then after that, there were just a lot of movies that I enjoyed. But they just didn't quite reach that. Like, 4 stars was like the upper as far as I went for most, except the top 2 this year that I went. And I think there wasn't anything that really blew my mind too much this year. And I'm hoping 2020 is going to be better. But, well, let's just jump into this. I did see a movie that came out in 2020. I kind of took one for the team here because I did not want to make you guys see this. So a movie.
How was Cats, Zach?
Cats. Oh, Cats is honestly, Cats is probably more entertaining than what I saw because I watched The Grudge, produced by Sam Raimi.
Why?
Please,
Why?
please don't put that on him, please. It's not very nice, Zach.
He also produced the 2004 version, so this isn't his fault. So The Grudge, directed by Nicholas Pence. Oh, okay.
What's wrong with The Grudge?
What isn't wrong with The Grudge? So
I do want to point out that this is at like an 11% on Rotten Tomatoes right now. I think.
I mean, I'm giving it 1 star out of 5, mainly just because Lin Shaye is doing her best, and that's being generous. So John Cho is pretty much advertised as a star of this movie. He's like in it for 15 minutes in a bagel.
Wow.
Yeah. So he has a supporting role that he must have been paid something nice here. He's like, yeah, he's not in this at all. So what? So what do you guys know about The Grudge? It's like the 2004 one and Ju-on, which, by the way, the 2004 remake was actually directed by the same guy, Takashi Shimizudir, who directed Ju-on and the 2004 version. And actually, the actress that played Kayako, who is the Grudge girl, if you guys know, the signature Grudge girl, she played the Grudge girl through The Grudge 2. She dropped out for The Grudge 3. She's not in this movie at all.
Sadako.
No, that is the Ring girl, Casey.
Oh.
Kayako.
Oh, yeah. They all kind of run together.
Kayako is the Grudge girl. And that is one of the problems with this movie. There is no Grudge girl, because it's a reboot, but it's supposed to take place in the same universe as the 2004 version. So like the So like the 2004 version, they do a thing where they kind of go back and forth between kind of separate, like they do like flashbacks and flash forwards between like 2004 and 2006. So this story that's taking place in 2004, part of the movie, is supposed to take place at the same time as the 2004 The Grudge, allegedly, according to an interview I read with the director, Nicholas Pence. But I call bullshit on that because there is no Kayako in this movie. Instead...
I saw Kayako wrestle Sadako once in Japan. Pretty amazing. True story. We need to do an episode on my monster wrestling.
Well, there is a Grudge vs. Ring Girl movie that I do want to watch. It's on Shudder. But that's besides the point. So The Grudge, yeah. So in this reboot... The Grudge is like, it's a curse that in the original movie, the curse develops because a husband like murders his wife because he thinks she's cheating on him, and she dies in a very vengeful way. I mean, that's just the setup. She dies in a very vengeful way, and so she pretty much haunts anybody that comes to this house, and then it kind of sticks with you. But still, the curse is Kayako. There's no Kayako in this movie. Instead, this curse is it's almost like, like the Amityville Horror. Like, it's just like the people that there's a woman that was at this house that leaves and moves back to America. I forget what town this movie takes place in. And so the curse takes over her, and you kind of flash forward to 2006, and there's cops investigating this house. And then you also flash back to 2004, and John Cho's character is he and his wife are like real estate agents, and they're trying to, I guess, sell this house. And they don't know that it's really fucking complicated and stupid. Anyway, but yeah, so there's no Kayako, so there's pretty much no Grudge girl. You see different people throughout the movie that have been affected by this curse doing that, sound. Except in this movie...
Does anybody meow at anyone in this movie?
No, there's no meows, which is disappointing. But the sound, which is like a signature part of this franchise, is so like the soundtrack in this movie is so like dulled and faded out. It has no effect on it's just not scary. They that's like a signature part of the franchise, that noise. Like when that came out in 2004, that movie, everyone is making that noise. You like barely know that noise is in this movie because it's there, but it's so like dull. It's so like dim and it. And here's the thing with Kayako. What was scary about her? The way she moved and contorted, and then her face and her eyes and like the whole hair thing. That's like, there's none of that in here at all. I know it's like a reboot, but the main problem with this movie, and a lot of people are talking about how there's an over-reliance on jump scares. Here's the thing. For it to be considered a jump scare, you have to jump out of your seat. There's like about 30 of these so-called jump scares. I didn't move like a quarter of an inch in my seat. They're not jump scares.
Zach, we got horror calluses though.
No. like it's not that hard to make a decent jump scare. You just pump up the volume on your soundtrack really loud. Like I hate like a shitty jump scare, even if it's shitty, can be effective in that regard. They don't even do that in this movie. They're so limp. They're like nothing phases you in this movie. I yawned multiple times during this movie. I was not tired. This movie is,
Would you say this is your limp dick movie of the year then? Since you used the word limp.
I suppose so. You know,
So far.
it's just they waste so many good actors. William Sadler is in this. Grim Reaper, he has such a goofy role in this movie. He's been exposed to this curse because he was a cop. He's actually Demian Bichers, who just grovels his way through this movie. He's a detective, and the lead in this movie is like a new female detective that is pretty much assigned to this case with them, and he just doesn't give a shit. But William Sadler is his old detective who is pretty much in an insane asylum now since working this case. And
you know what I hate in horror movies? When fucking detectives are the main characters. I fucking hate it.
yeah, well, welcome to The Grudge.
Yeah, and Saw, but
Yeah. It's just, Andrea Riseborough, who is an Academy Award nominated actress, has a role in this. And I got to say, she's got a great voice for horror. I wasn't super familiar with her, but she was giving me Zelda Rubinstein vibes. It was pretty tremendous.
I saw her at a restaurant once when I was a little kid. Zelda Rubinstein.
Yeah.
She's fucking tiny.
But yeah,
R.I.P.
yeah, Andrea Riseborough. I hope she does more horror movies. She was not really utilized well here. Lynn Shay just plays, loony bin character here, and bless her soul.
As she does.
She does her
Wonderful.
she does her best. But God,
She's good at everything, but she plays that crazy
Yeah.
person every time. Yeah.
yeah. So actually, Andrea Riseborough is the lead character in this movie. I'm mistaken. The woman with the weird voice, I forget her actress, but she's in this movie and she's Academy Award nominated. That is someone else. Andrea Riseborough is the lead detective character, but she's also
To be
good
clear,
actress.
not for this movie. Not for this movie.
No.
That nomination is 100% not for this movie.
Anyway, yeah, the Grudge, guys, it was just so boring.
Well,
and
Sorry, Zach.
the 2004 version is 1,000 times better. And honestly, obviously the original is fantastic. I really want to watch that again.
You should read the audience my answer to when you said we should see that movie for the podcast.
What was your answer? 'Cause I
think I said I don't give a shit about the Grudge remake, Zach.
yeah, but it came out, was the first horror movie of 2020. It was the first movie I saw in theaters in 2020. So you're welcome, guys. That was how I rung in the new year.
Year's off to the great start already.
Yeah, but yeah, don't see The Grudge. Honestly, you're better off seeing Cats. I'm sure it's at least entertaining.
You know what? I heard it's better than the Black Christmas remake.
Cats?
I heard that's even worse. No, Grudge.
I can't
heard
believe that. That
No, I
looked
have
way
not heard
better.
that.
That looked way better.
Yeah, I've actually heard some mild good things about that, about Black Christmas
Oh.
remake.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Well,
anyway.
My problem is I hate the original Black Christmas. It's just like,
well, there is some good stuff
gosh,
coming.
Casey.
There is some good stuff coming in 2020. A couple trailers dropped. A Quiet Place 2, which looks fantastic. Did you guys see that
I
trailer?
still haven't seen the first movie, so I did not watch it.
Oh my gosh.
I did see it. It looks okay.
You know what though?
Sorry.
What I
Sorry,
learned
Zach.
from being a high school teacher is that A Quiet Place, very popular with high school students. They fucking love that movie.
It was good. Anyway, the trailer looks fantastic. There's just some really creative action scenes there that I'm keen to watch, and it'll be interesting to see how Mr. Krasinski expands on the universe. But another trailer, actually another show dropped that our own Chris Pistol has seen, and that is the new
It's true.
BBC Dracula series that dropped on Netflix. I was getting serious Hammer vibes from this, Chris. What can you tell me about it?
Yeah, I was excited about this mostly because of Stephen Moffat and Mark Gatiss being involved. These are both the guys who helped create Sherlock. Stephen Moffat was the showrunner on Doctor Who for 6 seasons. Wrote some of the best Doctor Who and is really making me miss him right now with how Doctor Who is going. And Mark Gatiss is a huge horror fan, and he's even got a pretty good. He actually made a really good documentary that's on YouTube, called "The History of Horror." That's like a 3-part series. That some
very
people
cool.
should check out. Yeah, it's really well made. It really focuses in on the original golden era of horror from the 30s and 40s. And so this series definitely has a lot of Hammer vibes, though. It's got its own style. I don't know if it's necessarily as strong. At least I've only seen the first episode. It's definitely not as strong of a release as Sherlock was. Mostly just because it feels like, at least for the first half, it's definitely like following the Dracula story as we know it, and then it takes some turns, some interesting twists and turns. The guy who plays Dracula, I can't remember his name. He has some good moments, although I don't think he's necessarily like I don't know if he's necessarily like Benedict Cumberbatch, like star quality. I don't know if he's got that in him. He kind of looks like a young Walter Matthau.
Walter Matthau is Dracula.
Yeah, I was definitely getting like young Walter Matthau vibes from him. But I enjoyed the first episode. I enjoyed like the turns that it made. There's definitely some fun, bloody, gore, gross stuff in there.
I feel like we haven't covered Dracula enough on this podcast, just like in general.
Not everyone can be Duncan Redger, that's
Christopher.
I'm guessing is that the Dracula from the Monster Squad?
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
I was going on that just by how much I know.
Which is on Shudder now. If you have not seen, this is pretty much a Don't Cross the Streams what we're doing. But
it's been on Amazon Prime for like a whole year last year. But if you have Shudder, it's on there now.
This is like an unofficial Don't Cross the Streams because I'm probably not going to put the sound effect in. We'll do another segment of that sometime soon. I'm sorry, Chris. We rudely interrupted you with that PSA.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, Monster Squad on Shudder. Watch it.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I was starting to ramble, but I enjoyed the first episode. I don't think it didn't really like blow me away when I first heard, Stephen Moffat, Mark Gatiss, Dracula. I got super, super excited. And then just based on what I was kind of seeing in the trailers, I was kind of like, oh, okay. Well, it looks pretty good. And I watched the first episode and was kind of like, yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna keep watching and see where it goes from here. So maybe like a mild recommendation. I don't think it's gonna like blow anybody's socks off, but it's fun for what it is so far.
Awesome.
It sounds like it follows along the same trajectory of every Dracula series ever released, which there's actually been quite a few Dracula TV series, believe it or not.
I mean, if anything, it's better than what Universal's been doing with those fuckers.
Oh God, Dracula Untold.
Oh my God, yeah. They introduce a new character that's not in any of the books, and it's a very interesting character, and I'm interested to see where they go with it. It's kind of a new rival for Dracula.
Mm-hmm. Sweet, I'm definitely excited to check that out.
I'm a big Dracula guy. Tomb of Dracula, my favorite comic of all time. Christopher Lee, my favorite Dracula of all time. I definitely plan on checking this out. Don't check out Dracula the series from the 90s by accident. Trust me, you don't want to do that shit. It's a first-run syndication series. It's fucking terrible.
Well, before we close things out real quick, guys, I just do want to say I have a bit of news. Another Evil Dead is on the way. Sam Raimi did an AMA like the other day, and some unknown filmmaker is going to write and direct a new one, but apparently he wants to direct another one if Bruce Campbell will come out of retirement for the character of Ash. So if you're hoping for another Evil Dead, there is another one coming. So
I feel like there's always a new Evil Dead on the way in some form or capacity.
Filmmaker.
You're the filmmaker, Casey?
I'm going to run this franchise into the ground.
If you haven't seen Ash vs. Evil Dead, highly, highly recommend that. It's so much fun. Okay, guys, so...
Yeah, I've seen The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. Highly recommend it.
Okay, guys. So 2020, before we end things, what are your hopes and dreams for the horror genre in 2020? If you hope for one thing this year out of the horror world, what is it?
I want the Friday the 13th rights to get unfucked.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That is a good one. Wow, that was like a large question. You just
I know. I'm sorry.
And Casey just knocked it out of the park.
I've had it on my mind lately.
I want to continue to see more original ideas. I think that's so important for the horror genre, especially. We get so many reboots and sequels and remakes and yada yada yadas and requels and whatever. I just want to see more original horror movies. And I think...
Can I editorialize a bit based on what you said, Zach?
Okay.
Okay. Well, you and I have been watching a lot of these new horror
Yeah.
movies, right? What would you say the percentage is of these new horror movies that decide to set themselves in the 1980s?
A lot.
Pretty fucking
Like
high.
75%.
Okay. So this is my editorializing. Bitch, you're not Stranger Things. Fucking stop. Thank you. Continue, Zach. I'm sorry.
No, I think Shudder's provided a great outlet for indie horror releases, and I hope some more of these movies get, full like theatrical runs. I know some of them are getting limited
I
theatrical
wonder
runs.
if that's how you sell shit these days. If we just took one of our fucking horror scripts that we can't sell, set it in the 80s, do we sell it? Is that our secret? Is it...
Well, Kris, do you have any hopes or dreams for horror in 2020?
Oh man. I would say just like, yeah, I'll just keep it short. More black and white horror. That's what the Lighthouse gave me this year.
For sure. That's always great. And it's not black and white, but we're getting The Invisible Man, which actually looks really good. So it wasn't that.
Oh, but is it as good as Memoirs of an Invisible Man starring Chevy Chase? I think not.
And it's not by Universal. I think it's Blumhouse. Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that shit on an airplane.
I know, Casey. You said this on the podcast before.
I know, but we get new listeners all the time.
All right, guys. So that was our first episode of 2020. If you haven't yet, please do follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/MPOSofficial. That's twitter.com/MPOSofficial. Also, whatever platform you're listening to us on, please subscribe to us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Itcher, all the Itchers and Spotify's.
Pod kicker.
Yes, everything. Pretty much everything.
We're actually pretty high rated on Podfucker. I don't know if you've been using that yet, but we're pretty high.
Oh my gosh! So we're a bi-monthly podcast, so that's 2 episodes a month. So we'll have another episode for you this month, and then next month we'll have 2 more, and so on and so forth. We're looking to have a really awesome year. We want to just keep this going. We're gonna try and we want to reach as many people as possible. So please spread the word. If you don't want to post something on Twitter, tell your friend, tell your neighbor, tell your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your sister.
No. Post it on Twitter, you fucking coward.
If you want to post on social media, we really appreciate that. And you can also follow these goofballs. Kris, what is your Twitter handle, sir?
My Twitter handle is the most original Twitter handle that you've ever heard of. It's at Kris Pistol, KrisPistole.
Kris, I think you need to make.
That's how it spells it.
Kris, you need to make a T-shirt that just says the most original Twitter handle you've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's our merch, Zach?
And that's my letterbox too. So find me on Letterbox.
Yeah, he has got a great letterbox. It's really awesome. So check out his Twitter profile. He has a link to his letterbox. Lots of great movie recommendations.
Zach approves.
Yeah, not
Zach
horror movie
approves.
recommendations. Casey, what is your Twitter handle?
It's at Lucha Gringo, and that's a private account that's locked, but I will approve you if you request me.
Yeah, so
He's a
I
very
can't
private
even, I can't, if you're wondering why there's no retweets of anything Casey posts on the official MPOS Twitter profile, it's because
they're all
it's private.
it's all pictures. It's all pictures of my dick and balls,
Yeah.
and he won't put it on the main account. As much as I even try to get like at MPOS dick and balls as a separate account, but I guess it was too long, and you can't use the and sign. You have to like spell and.
Oh my gosh, let's end this now. If you want to follow my personal Twitter account, that's twitter.com/earth2mcfly, so earth the number 2 McFly. I don't post there too often, but every once in a while. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We really appreciate it. 2020 is going to be a really fun year, so please spread the word. Keep tuning in. We got lots of fun stuff in store for you. Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Thank you for listening. And
Baby Yoda.
if you're not listening, we got to talk about Baby Yoda. Stop the podcast!